Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and today I'm going to tell you about the WWE Hall of Famer that has been released. I'm going to tell you about the former WWE Champion that returned on Raw, all about the storyline that WWE have seemingly abandoned after one goddamn week, and as well as that, to round it off, we're going to talk the trademark oppositions that WWE is filing against Cody.
Also, the clearest indication yet that the artists formerly known as The Revival are on their way to AEW. One of the superstars is out of Money in the Bank, and Vince McMahon has got a new favourite toy. This is the news.
And sorry to interrupt you right at the very start of this video, ladies and gentlemen, but we've got some breaking news. So breaking, in fact, I couldn't even be bothered to set up my tripod. That's how eager I am to get this story to you. Cain Velasquez has been released by WWE. It has literally come out like a minute ago. The former UFC heavyweight champion has been cut loose by the promotion. This comes to us via Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. WWE haven't come out with a statement or anything like officially confirming it yet, but he's gone. Dave speculates that the reason he was let go was probably because he was on a bumper contract, and the company is obviously cutting costs at the moment to maintain profit margins. Now, Cain hasn't wrestled since October 31st. That was Super Showdown. It was Brock Lesnar. It was that worked MMA match thing that they had. He had been training at the Performance Center, but Dave notes on the radio show that he hadn't heard of Cain being at the Performance Center lately. There were plans initially for him to be in the Royal Rumble. Cain himself announced that ahead of schedule, but the company decided otherwise. They didn't have him in the Royal Rumble, and in Dave's words, they hadn't thought about him since then. So perhaps this was something on the cards, but man, it's a big story to wake up to on a Tuesday morning, isn't it, Adam?
Oh, unquestionably, but what a waste of Cain Velasquez in WWE. It was, at the time when he debuted, and, it was immediately the aftermath of the Kofi Kingston debacle with the WWE Championship, the match, between him and Brock Lesnar. It was so exciting for me that it distracted me from the fact that Kofi Kingston had just been beaten in like 10 seconds or whatever. But then they just bungled it from there, and that match at Super Showdown was just awful. And then you thought, okay, maybe there's a way to salvage this. Maybe you do some sort of really exciting rubber match, because you've got their match in the UFC, which obviously Cain destroyed Brock in, then Brock destroys Cain in Saudi Arabia. So you have this all set up, and then, I genuinely forgot about him as well. So, I'm no surprise that he's been released, really.
Yeah, not at all. If he's on a big money contract and WWE are getting rid of guys like No Way Jose, who probably, with all due respect to them, weren't on big money contracts, it's not a massive surprise. At the same time, it's just kind of randomly come out of nowhere. Like 2 weeks after the first round of releases and everyone was let go, it's still kind of a big bomb to drop. So, what the future holds for Cain, who knows, man. He's beaten up. We know that he has had a lot of injury problems in the past. Maybe he goes back to fighting, but that might hinder him that way. I'm sure AAA would love to have him back, but their operations, like everyone else, are altered greatly by the ongoing global situation. So, like the other released wrestlers, yes, Cain Velasquez might be a bigger name than, all of them, really. He might have trouble finding a new line of employment straight away.
Unquestionably, but a real shame, because they had something really exciting on their hands and a combination of factors. But initially, WWE just being WWE kind of ruined it. But there you have it. Breaking news for today. Cain Velasquez released by WWE. Now we're going to hand back to our past selves.
Yes, 1 hour ago. Here we go. But we're going to kick things off by talking about WWE releases. So, if you remember, in the aftermath of Black Wednesday, as it has been dubbed, there was talk that a bunch of backstage names and other people had been let go without the names actually being made public. They've been let go, or furloughed, I should say. One of them has come out today. It's a WWE Hall of Famer, and his name is Gerald Briscoe. This comes to us via Dave Meltzer, who has a write-up on Figure 4 Online talking about the situation, saying that Briscoe was let go on 15th of April, along with, your Lance Storms, your Billy Kidmans, bunch of other people. So, Little bit of info on Gerald, 73 years old, been with the company since 1984, mental. He'd been a wrestler, of course, he was a talent scout. In fact, as a talent scout, he discovered and signed Brock Lesnar, which is not a bad thing to have on your resume. He was a close personal advisor to Vince McMahon, at one point one of Vince's closest advisors, in fact. So a guy with deep roots within the company, but you know, we don't know the circumstances of this release, so, you know, at 73 years old after so long in the business, there's every chance that Gerald was looking to retire anyway. That's potentially what might have happened here, but you might remember him, if you've got an especially long memory, as a tag team specialist alongside his brother Jack. You might remember him as one of the Two Stooges alongside Pat Patterson, which was hilarious in the Attitude Era, apart from that goddamn evening gown match. Let's never talk about that again. Or you might even remember him for winning the 24/7 title last year. Took it off Pat Patterson, of course, and then lost it to like Kelly or someone, because that belt rules. Either way, it's kind of a shame to see Gerald Briscoe sliding out of the company. He is a hugely important figure in wrestling history. It was him and his brother Jack who sold their shares in Georgia Championship Wrestling to Vince McMahon back in the day, back in the 80s, which gave Vince like complete control over every major TV slot for wrestling in the United States, and essentially helped facilitate what would become a monopoly. So Briscoe is a big name, he's a big name dude, he's a rightful Hall of Famer, that's not a thing, but he's out of the company now. Hopefully this is going on to a happy retirement rather than being pushed out the door.
Yeah, exactly, an absolute legend of WWE without question, and you know, as much as we all don't agree with the WWE releases or the furloughs or whatever, if you had to pick anyone, a 73-year-old guy who's probably winding up his career and wouldn't mind just, you know, staying at home, especially considering the current conditions, you'd pick someone like Gerald Briscoe. It's a shame, like you say, that he's not going to be involved anymore, but maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, maybe it is, man. Maybe it is. I always really loved Gerald Briscoe as, like, you know, this one of the Stooges in the Attitude Era. It was just fun and stuff, and like, he's a guy I'll always associate with 80s wrestling. Him and Jack, tag legends, like we said. I hope he's cool with this, man.
Exactly. Right, let's talk a little bit about the Revival, or as they're now known even, the Revolt. The clearest indication yet they are on their way to All Elite Wrestling. You'll know this if you watch the most recent episode of Being the Elite. Matt and Nick Jackson looking up to the skies and seeing the letters FTR etched in the clouds. It looks like the Revolt are on their way to AEW. It's what most people predicted. It's what most people hope for. Although I wouldn't say it's guaranteed, because I look up at the clouds quite a lot at the moment and I see elephants, or I see cats, or I see, more likely than most, a cock and bollocks. So I don't know what that means, but anyway, FTR seems to indicate that the Revolt are on their way to AEW.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the £10 million I saw in the sky the other week to materialise in my life. Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I think it would be a huge surprise if they didn't end up in AEW, right? It's been, you know, they've been teasing this match with the Young Bucks for years, like even when they were long under WWE contract. So, you know, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler showing up. I just wonder if the AEW might hold off on it until crowds come back. Because as we've seen with Brody Lee and Matt Hardy, returns and debuts, they're not great without that noise, are they?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't bring them in just yet. I think AEW, not to, you know, lessen how great the Revolt are, they don't exactly need them right now. I think, you know, 3 months down the line, if we can get crowds back, or whenever that may be, arguably, even the first show you have crowds back, you'd have them debut, because I think they are that impactful. And yeah, it's just what everyone really, really wants to see. And I'm sure it'll be yet another example of AEW showing WWE what they could have done with some amazing talents.
Absolutely. Speaking of amazing talent, a WWE champion returned on last night's Raw, and his name is Jinder Mahal. Juicy Jinder was back on the scene, crispy and clean last night. Wasn't really a hype debut. We got some words from the commentators before it happened, but then he came down and he did a bunch of Jinder things to Akira Tozawa, a bunch of headlocks, threw him around ringside a little bit, finished him off with the Kalass. 1, 2, 3, Jinder's back. Looks like he's playing a serious mean heel once again. No sign of the Singh brothers by his side. Interesting stuff. But they're wrestlers on 205 Live now, of course. Lord knows what the future holds for him. I mean, he's coming back with a win. You think WWE might put him in as like a fill-in challenger for Drew? I mean, Free MB, they have that history. Jinder's a former WWE champion, as we said. You know, they might look at that and go, hey, This would be good for one of those B-tier pay-per-views. So maybe they'll do that. Or maybe Jinder will, I don't know, like... Well, actually, come to think of it, you know, with your news that you're about to break down, there's a free spot in Money in the Bank, isn't there?
Please, no. I'd not connected those dots. No. Look, it is great to see Jinder back. Yeah, like you say, it wasn't not much to shout about. He just returned and beat Akira Tozawa. But there is a weird bit of me that does want to see him in a championship match. For God's sake, don't let him win it, but have him challenge Drew McIntyre. And I know he's been released, but wouldn't it add that little bit of spice if you had Heath Slater as the special guest referee? Like,
oh, man.
Genuinely, I'd quite like to see that on a, crappy B-level pay-per-view. I don't want to, diminish Drew's championship reign, but, he's already fought, Andrade for the title. He fought Big Show for the title. He's going to fight and hopefully defeat Seth for the title. You need some little ones sprinkled along in there, and I think Jinder by itself is pretty crap. But Jinder with Heath Slater, who in my opinion shouldn't have been released anyway, I'm up for that.
The free MB PPV main event-y, I'm kind of here for it. Yep.
They can write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. They can do the whole thing for the pay-per-view.
Hell yeah, why not?
But yes, what you alluded to there, I can't believe you've done that, Andy, is one of the stars set to appear on, this Sunday. Next Sunday's Money in the Bank pay-per-view is out of it. It was all looking so good for, apologies to headphone users, Titus Worldwide! Dana Brooke was in there.
Woo.
Titus was hosting, one would assume. And 2 years ago yesterday, by the way, Titus World Slide, I forgot to mention that yesterday. Never forget. But unfortunately, Apollo Crews is out of Money in the Bank. Now, this does appear to be a kayfabe injury rather than a real injury. He was involved in the six-man at the start of last night's Monday Night Raw, and then later on slapped the taste out of Andrade's mouth and then got a shot at the United States Championship. Good little match, actually, between Apollo and Andrade, and Apollo looked like he was getting the upper hand and potentially might get the championship from Andrade, but then he'd already tweaked his knee going to the outside, did it again coming off the top rope, and just could not continue. The ref called off the match, and WWE released the following statement: Apollo Crews suffered a knee injury that left him unable to continue in his United States Championship match with Andrade on Raw. Due to that injury, Crews will no longer be able to compete in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match on Sunday, May 10th. Now, we did have 5 of the 6 superstars confirmed, with Otis and Dolph set to compete on SmackDown to decide the 6th one. But that means, yes, as you mentioned there, Andy, an extra spot has opened up, and I'd like to leave it to the comment section to suggest who should replace Apollo Crews in Money in the Bank. I'd be fine, to be honest, with it being someone like Andrade. What do you reckon, Andy?
Jinder. Anyway, he's cashing in on Drew at Money in the Bank itself, and we're all going to cry. Speaking of crying, Viking Raiders, they were back on Raw, but it looks like WWE have already abandoned that comedy crap that we spoke about last week. They
Good.
just cut... Yeah, they cut a pretty basic promo backstage, red lights, smoke, stuff, talking about challenging the Street Profits. That match goes down next week. There was no carpool karaoke, there was no humongous comedy turkey leg, and they weren't sitting in their car wearing their merch. It was much more in line with what we expect from a tag team called the Viking Raiders, and indeed their presentation back in NXT. I don't think there'll be a single person on planet Earth who is upset with this.
No, exactly. I really liked the promo they cut last night, and I wasn't sure whether it was just relief that they weren't shouting their name a million times or whatever, or just because I thought it was actually quite a genuinely good promo that they cut, basically saying the only reason you've ever become tag champs, both here on Monday Night Raw and in NXT, is because we weren't around. We were injured and couldn't defend our Raw tag titles, or we just dropped them and obviously had the stuff with the OC, or the fact that, they dropped the NXT tag titles when they came to the main roster. I thought it was a really good promo, and I'm really looking forward to this match because the Street Profits seem to suggest in their promo that they are going to take things seriously, and something's mad's going to happen. Is it for the? Yeah. It's not for the titles next week, is it?
I think so.
This is a bit I couldn't understand, because I was looking at the graphic and it didn't say the titles were on the screen, but it didn't say whether they were for the titles. So I think it's one of those where they're just going to let people assume that it is And then if they change their mind or decide what they decide on the result's going to be, they'll change it around based on that. Because surely if you were going to put a title match on, you'd maybe put it on at the pay-per-view, which is 12 days away.
Yeah, maybe they'll use this one to set that up. Right?
That's what I sense is probably going to happen. But who knows?
Yeah.
It's WWE. You can never bloody guess. Right, let's talk about Vince McMahon. He's got a new favourite star down in NXT, and that man is Cal Bloom. This coming from WrestlingNews.co's Paul Davis, who writes that several people within WWE, including Vince, believe that Bloom has what it takes to become a true WWE main eventer in time. Apparently, one of his sources says that everyone is comparing him to a young Edge. The chairman is particularly impressed with Bloom's look, the way he moves around the ring. Just to tell you a little bit about Cal Bloom. He's 5'2". Who'd have thought that? He's 5'2" and 100 pounds. No, of course he isn't. He's 6'5". He's 255 pounds. And guess what? Ding, 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 ding. You've hit Vince McMahon bingo. He's a former American football player.
Hey, he's the son of a former Beverly brother as well. Wayne Bloom, Bo Beverly, I think. He's a big beefy boy. I'll give him that.
Of course he is. What do you think? Yeah, Vince really likes this guy who's stick thin and 5 foot nothing.
Yeah, he's got Hornswoggle 2.0. Interesting to see how it pans out. It's really hard to say, oh, excited for this, excited for that, when you've only seen like a minute of the guy getting murdered by Sheamus on SmackDown. But, you know, best of luck to him. He has pedigree, and if Vince is a fan of him, that bodes extremely well. So
yeah, let's just hope the Bloom doesn't come off the rose too soon.
Hey, there we go.
Yes!
Last story of the day. We won't pick this one apart. Cody filed trademarks. Slamboree ex-WCW show, The Match Beyond, which is obviously related to War Games, the final stage of War Games. WWE have filed opposition for these trademarks. They have been granted the 90-day window to complete their opposition, and the reason they are giving is for this extension, WWE, is because the potential opposed needs additional time to investigate the claim. Should be noted that at this time they are not going after the trademarks Cody has filed for Dusty Rhodes or Cody Rhodes, so that's good at the moment, but they are going after Slamboree, or they're trying to stop Slamboree in The Match Beyond. To me, this reeks of WWE just trying to waste the competition's time, because what use do they have for those?
Exactly. They've had all this time to utilise those sorts of things, and now they've gone, like a child, no, I don't want them, but I also don't want you to have them, so no.
It's like their talent acquisition.
Right, let's move on to today's quick Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course. First question today comes from Mazapanzan, who says, do you think Zack Ryder will debut as Internet Champion and only defend the title on AEW-affiliated YouTube channels like Being the Elite or AEW Dark?
Yeah, I think there's a very strong chance of that happening, and I think it would be smart, be something different, a niche for him to fill, a way for him to stand out. He can produce the content from his house. He can do all the Long Island True Z store. I always get the goddamn name wrong. Please correct me. He can do all that stuff once more. He can be himself. He can do the stuff that got him over in WWE. And I absolutely think that would be a strong direction for him if he does go to AEW.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing for everyone. And, you know, I don't want to suggest it's anything like the 24/7 Championship. It shouldn't be like that. It should just be defended in proper matches, but only on YouTube, really.
Yeah.
And you know, you can still make occasional appearances on Dynamite and what have you, but only to promote perhaps some of the YouTube stuff, because they're doing phenomenally well and they get enough views on that to justify something like that. Sajid gives us our second question of the day. He says the WWE product has not been the same for some years now, and it looks like it's getting worse. After this global situation, if you could do one thing to better the product, what would it be?
Change the man on top, because the man on top is the reason that the product is what it is today. So, you know, there's a lot of micro things you could sit and break down, like scripted promos and certain match layouts and so forth. But at the end of the day, man, if it's under Vince's vision, and, you know, not to discredit that vision because it's made him the most successful wrestling promoter of all time, and WWE's business success is largely down to him. However, the creative shortcomings are also down to him as well, man. So, you know, it's a cliched answer, it's an obvious answer, but for me, it's the answer.
Yeah, exactly. I think you can sit here and say, do you know what, they really need to get rid of scripted promos, or they really need to shake up the structure of the show, or they really need to stop going to so many no contests or DQ finishers or whatever, or they need to stop going to Saudi Arabia, or they need to... it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter however you shift around the deck chairs on the Titanic, you still need to get rid of the sodding iceberg, which is somehow also made by the Titanic. I don't know, I've got really confused here, but get rid of it. Yes, you're right. Final question today comes from Christian Grant. Interesting question. There's loads of speculation, of course, surrounding the Money in the Bank ladder match, or Money on the Roof, or Cash in the Attic, or whatever you want to call it. Christian asks, do you think they'll try and do some sort of spot involving someone being thrown off the roof of WWE HQ during, as he puts it, hashtag Money on the Roof?
Wow. A callback, of course, to Hulk Hogan murdering the Giant at that Halloween Havoc by throwing him off the roof, and then the Giant showing up for his match an hour later like nothing had happened, which, of course, led into the wonderful debut of the Yeti. So obviously what you're saying, and what I pick up from this, is that the Yeti is coming back at Money in the Bank after someone dies on the roof. Yes.
The Yeti is going to replace Apollo Crews. What a wonderful bit of writing that'd be. Do you know what? I can see them doing something with this easily. I can see them using it as a way to get someone off our screens for a while. Even though, like you say, falling off a roof will more than likely kill someone. Although Elias came back after like a week at WrestleMania, didn't he? After he did the comedy thing. So, do you know what? Yeah, I mean, I couldn't pick who it's going to be. Otis. It'll be Otis. Yeah. Of course it'll be Otis. And he'll have forgotten about Mandy Rose or something. Or, you know, they'll do some comedy spot where he falls into a crater or something. I don't know. I can see that happening already.
What's he going to fall into?
Crater. Sorry. Let's move on to today's and finally. And another shout out, we should say, for Jason, Fluid Creative, who's made another wonderful design. This time, you have your, you know, what does the H stand for in Andy H. Murray? I now have my very own bloody good quiz t-shirt.
Hey,
they're not available to buy anywhere yet. We need to get these things made. We need the Funko Pops. We need the t-shirt with all of our little things on. We need your H t-shirt. We need the bloody good quiz t-shirt. Andy, we would be rolling in merch money if we could do this.
We would be Scrooge McDuckin, and indeed the word that rhymes with McDuckin.
Exactly. But honestly, it's not just Jason. Jason's obviously a shining example of this, but honestly, it pops us every single time. Whenever you do anything for us, draw something, make something. Honestly, it's so nice, and you know, we always get lovely messages about people saying how, you know, we're getting through these awful lockdown times, social distancing and what have you. But genuinely, for us, this sort of thing really helps our morale. I think it's fair to say, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a delight to wake up to these things. Very flattering, and we love you all.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dadley Boys will be reviewing Monday Night Raw a little bit later on today. I wonder if Sidgwick liked this one. I'll bet he didn't. And also, make sure you join us 4 p.m. today. Myself, Adam Cleary, and Adam Nicholas answering all of your WWE questions that you want answered. If you want to send some in advance, then you can tweet them to us at WhatCultureWWE along with your thoughts on all of today's news stories. But yes, 4 p.m. we'll be there answering all your questions, so make sure you join us live on YouTube for that. You can follow both of us on Twitter as well. You can follow Andy at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Herbie.
Ooh, Herbie Goes Bananas.
That's the one.
Oh, I loved that film when I was a kid. How old am I? Jesus. The bit where he gets pushed into the ocean.
I've never seen it.
Well, I need a moment here. You can follow me at Adam Wilmore. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. Thank you very much for watching. My thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, as I said, and we will see you soon.